everyone, I'm Zainab Bata. This is the Ojo podcast. In every episode, bringing to you inspiring personalities who are going to give you insight to jumpstart your career. Good morning. How are you both today?
Very well, thank you.
Yes.
Thanks.
I'm here today with Omar and Hamza from Letswork. All right, so tell me about Letswork. What happened?
So Letswork is a co-working app.
Okay.
We partner with hotels and restaurants, and we open them up for freelancers, SMEs, startups, students, anyone who just needs a space to work from. And the whole point of it is there's so many beautiful spaces around the UAE that people don't really know about.
Right.
So what we wanted to do is kind of match two and two, someone who's looking for a great space to work and these venues who might not have the footfall that they want to see during certain hours of the day.
Okay.
And yeah.
So your business solves two problems at once, right? So people needing a space and also the restaurants, cafes, hotels that have no people, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think when we first started, we saw exactly that. We saw a lot of people were sort of say when we first started, we knew we wanted to do something in the co-working industry.
Yeah.
We saw these global players like WeWork or Spacious and Regis, for example, who were sort of taking over the world with this new sort of way of working, where people from all sorts of different fields can come together in these different sort of co-working spaces, these business centers, and come and work from them and essentially share a desk with someone from a completely different industry to yourself.
Right.
And we knew we wanted to do something in that industry because no one was really doing it right here in the UAE. There were some existing co-working spaces, but we didn't feel like they were at the sort of international standard that does Dubai justice. But then at the same time, we also saw that there were so many people working from hotels and cafes and lobbies and stuff already.
They were already working there.
Exactly.
Right.
You saw freelancers, you saw photographers, you saw journalists, you saw students already working from a local Starbucks, already working from the lobby of the Address Dubai Mall or anything, and we realized that people are already doing that. They don't want to work from home because it's too distracting.
Right.
They getting an office in Dubai is also very expensive.
Very expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
And the main prime parts of town, like whether it's downtown or Dubai Marina, and we thought, why not sort of solve two problems with one solution, because the hospitality industry in the UAE is so saturated.
So
there's so many players coming in every single day. New places are opening, new places are closing, and it's really difficult now for places to really stand out and really do well and be busy all day long. So we thought, why not sort of bring that footfall, take that footfall from people who are looking for a space to work from,
right,
and give them an actual proper working environment, as opposed to being holed up in a coffee chain somewhere,
right,
with no plugs anywhere, uncomfortable seating, awful Wi-Fi. So give them a proper experience in these carefully curated sort of selection of venues.
Yeah, and I like the idea of curated. I mean, like, how do you curate your venues? How does that work?
So when we first started, we actually partnered with the Rove Hotels.
Okay.
It was perfect. We ourselves worked from there when we were coming up with the idea. Has to be great seating. There has to be really good Wi-Fi. If not, they need to upgrade their Wi-Fi.
Yeah. Oh, so you asked them to upgrade their Wi-Fi?
Course.
Okay.
And the coffee needs to be great too.
Of course. So you guys are experts in coffee tasting,
exactly,
is that correct?
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, he is. I'm not, to be honest.
You don't drink coffee?
I didn't at the time, and then now all of a sudden I sort of have to have I have a little morning espresso.
A little cheeky espresso in the morning.
Yeah,
okay.
Always.
And I think the most important thing is their willingness to work with us. Right?
Okay.
Just the point of turning your restaurant or hotel lobby into a workspace may be overwhelming because you'll reach a point where there's too many people here. The partners need to be willing to work with us, and it just makes the relationship a lot easier. We have people that have been partners with us for almost 2 years now, and they love the concept. It brings them those people that come in during the day, and it's just a lot easier for us to kind of because at the end of the day, they're our community managers. We don't have our staff in their space,
right?
So we need the waiters to be more friendly. We need the owner to actually take initiative and say, hey, these guys want this certain, let's say, a smaller food menu for them. They just want snacks. So the restaurant takes that initiative and says, hey, we're going to do it for your members because they're our members too.
Okay. So they have to kind of take the initiative. They have to work with you, but really take charge of that, right? So you have to trust them and rely on them to an extent. And how's that been, like trusting, relying on maybe external partners, building those relationships? How's that been going? How do you see it happening in the future?
Yeah, so it's been really interesting. So we were quite lucky to have the Rove hotels, all 5 or 4 of them at the time, to join us immediately. And then we also had Molecule in Dubai Design District.
Nice.
So there's Shaz, the owner of the venue, sort of really believed in our idea, and he's like, yeah, I definitely want to try it out, because you see a lot of spaces, for example, like Molecule. It's sort of like a restaurant lounge. I'm not sure if you've been.
Yeah.
And it's it's buzzing in the evening. It has a fantastic vibe there, but in the daytime it's still quiet. There'll be a few people there at lunchtime, but then these dead hours in the morning before lunch, or maybe in the afternoon as well. It's sort of and likewise for many other sort of venues across the across the globe. Really, there's always that sort of dead time, and we sort of see Letswork as an app to not only increase your footfall for the venues, but also to increase revenues. So you're essentially generating revenue in hours where we won't necessarily be doing that. We also see it as like a marketing tool as well, because there's so many spaces in Dubai as well. So people, as Omar said, people don't really know about the really good curated spaces as well.
Right.
The tops. One of the best ways that people find us is they always search cool spots to work from in Dubai. They Google that like cafes.
Good Wi-Fi.
Good Wi-Fi or cafes to work from. So just finding those spaces and providing that selection to our members, and then our members are have the option. So Letswork essentially is an app. So it allows you to find workspaces across the country. You can get daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly packages using our app, and you join this membership scheme, which gives you benefits like unlimited tea, coffee, water, Wi-Fi, 20% off food. There's free parking at pretty much most locations as well. Depending on the package, you also get meeting room access as well. So you get all these different benefits at these different location partners as well.
Right.
So the cool thing is that you have the flexibility to work from wherever you want. So say you're an individual who lives in the Marina, but your kids go to school in Jumeirah. So you could start off your day working in a location in Jumeirah after you drop your kids to school. Then you can work from a location in downtown because you have meetings there.
Right. So you can be flexible.
Exactly.
You can move around. You've got options.
Yeah.
Right.
And the key thing is affordability as well.
Yes.
So getting an office in Dubai is very expensive, as we said, in prime parts of town. So we thought we have to keep this at a price point which is sort of accessible to everyone.
Yeah.
So we thought of the concept, the sort of the tagline saying cheaper than a coffee a day, and that's what we've sort of maintained for our monthly package, for example. So if you sign up for our monthly package, it's just over 500 dirhams a month, including VAT, and that's essentially, if you're going to be using it every single day, it comes out to cheaper than your daily coffee.
Yeah, and I mean, what more value do you need than that, right?
Exactly.
At the end of the day, we spend so much on just grabbing a coffee, so you may as well end up working and having a good facility to work at. So, no, that's great. And in terms of your business model, like how does the business model work?
Essentially, we wanted to operate a very asset-light business. So we don't actually own any of the spaces. We enter in simple agreements with them, which just states that they're going to give us, our members, the coffee, tea, and water.
Okay.
And it's pretty simple. Once a member comes in and checks in through the app, we've trained the staff. Then the staff actually see that check-in from their app as well.
Okay.
And from that, we pay them a sort of commission just to cover the cost of the coffee and tea.
Okay.
And then what we kind of, as Hamza mentioned, the marketing, the footfall, and mainly the revenue that comes in. We have an average of 3 to 6 hours that our members actually spend in these spaces. And with a 20% discount off food and beverage, they're more likely to have lunch or even host meetings or have friends over to come have lunch in these spaces.
Right.
So what we end up looking at the end of each month is how many coffees or teas were consumed from one space versus how much revenue was generated from our members directly.
Okay, so they keep track of that, and then you guys communicate about that and learn and see, okay, look at the stats.
Yeah, because it really has to work for all parties involved, right? So, we benefit, obviously, because we're generating revenue from our membership.
Right.
Our members benefit because they're essentially getting an affordable and a flexible solution to their workspace needs. And then our venue partners, who are essentially also our customers in an interesting way, there's sort of the B2B side to it, and they're benefiting because they're generating revenue from our members, they're generating footfall from our members, they're getting a commission paid by us as well to help cover their costs, and finally they're also getting this marketing potential, which in here there's so many different ways that you can reach out to a customer, and this sort of gives them that one extra edge, hey, we're a cafe or we're a hotel, but hey, we can actually work from here as well, because it's actually our space is well equipped with great Wi-Fi, lots of plugs, getting in and out is super easy. We have some meeting rooms upstairs as well, which you can also use at a subsidized rate for Letwork members. So all these sort of benefits sort of come together to really create this healthy sort of ecosystem, which we're quite pleased with right now.
Yeah, no, it sounds, and it's amazing because you're really benefiting, like you said, all three different parties. Everyone's getting the best of what they need.
Precisely.
And I think, all really good businesses fulfill a need, right? And this is a really clear one. And like you were saying, the expenses that otherwise it would cost to have an office, or even just having a coffee in a hotel lobby, it's just it's so much, right? So I think if I can share my opinion, I think it's a great business model.
Thank you.
And I'd hope to join Letwork.
Yeah, for sure. We'll send over some free day passes and stuff.
For sure. I would never say no to a free day pass. A 3-month pass, 3-year pass, fine. But yeah. So going back to you two, tell me about you guys. How did you meet, and was it business love at first sight, or how did it work? Tell me about you guys.
So we met on Tinder. I'm joking.
It happened. It's okay.
No, I'm joking. No, we met at the E25 incubator program.
Okay, and what is E25? Just so we're all aware about that.
So E25 was an initiative launched by the chairman of Omar, Hamza. He wanted to bring in people under the age of 25 to come up with new startup concepts, and these concepts have to synergize with Omar's core competencies. So. Whether it be real estate, commercial leasing, hospitality, entertainment. So we both applied to that. And when we joined, we were working on the idea together. So it was kind of putting two heads together. So I'm an engineer and Hamza's a lawyer.
Okay.
So I came in with the tech side. Hamza came in with the business and legal. And marketing, I'm terrible at social media, so thanks to him, we got that marketing part down. Okay,
so you met through the program itself.
We did.
And how did you decide to partner with this? Did they suggest that you go together, or how did that work?
No, it was basically. So Omar joined the program in June, wasn't it? And I joined in October.
Okay.
And basically, the idea with the program was that you sort of come in with your own idea that you pitch to the chairman and his team, which you wanted to work on basically during your time in the incubator.
Okay.
So my idea, for example, was working on urban farming because I thought that this is a great sort of industry to get into because the UAE's UAE only makes about 10% of the food that it actually consumes, and with the sort of the greater trend of moving towards sustainability and homemade produce and farm to table and all that sort of stuff, this was really something that we could look into. But then Omar actually was looking at co-working as well, right?
Yeah, I think the whole point of it was the scalability part of it. The model itself can be scaled massively.
Yeah, which is amazing.
So then we were both sort of doing our own thing, and then my idea didn't get the funding because it was an industry that MR said that they didn't really want to sort of look into because it was just so different from its core competencies, which are real estate and hospitality and development really. So they said, Hamza, how about you look at something else, which is sort of more in line with our which sort of synergizes more with MR's sort of different sort of subsidiaries. And then Omar's already working on the co-working, and then he needed
a great contract.
Yeah, the cool thing about E25, there was about 16 of us, and we all had different skills and competencies. And so Omar was working on the contract for the different venues and stuff to onboard them as Letswork venues. And then he was like, "Oh, Hamza, can you just have a look at this?" And then just helped him out with that. And then he was like, "I'm actually looking for a co-founder as well. Do you want to join in?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And that's it.
Yeah, I think the model changed quite a bit as well. And when we first joined, even when we first started, it was pretty basic. We still call it the beta launch, the first year.
Yep.
That's when we first met.
That's when we met. Yeah.
We had an iPad in each location, which people type in their phone number.
Yeah. Okay.
It was very
simple. It was an MVP.
Simple.
Yeah. It was simple.
So the MVP, or minimum viable product, which is what sort of the tech sort of speak is basically. The idea was that we just wanted to try it out and really see how this idea or concept could really, how the public would react to it. Right. We didn't want to invest, tens or even hundreds of thousand dirhams in an app, which we didn't even know people would take or not. So we literally just found one of our first members, who was also working in the Rove hotels at the time. We said, "Hey man, could you kindly develop sort of this sort of web platform or whatever?" And then it took a few months to develop, 2 or 3 months.
2 months.
Yeah, 2 months to make. And
for the initial
sort of just the basic,
Okay.
basic. It was a website which you would sign up with your name, number, and email, you'd pay for a membership, and then there's an iPad in each location. There was 5 locations at the time. So, and then you'd basically sign into the iPad every single time with your email address, and that checks you in, and that confirms to the venue that this guy's a member, for example, and that they can come and sit and work from here for the whole day and enjoy free tea and coffee and all that sort of stuff. So super simple, really easy to do, fantastic to start, affordable as well because
we did a cross marketing. So he said if you can just put my logo on the thing.
Okay.
And he gave it to us for pennies, to be honest.
So just tried it out. And we were basically with that platform for a year, and we're basically adding more and more features to it. And then about 9 months into it, and we realized this business was really picking up, and we actually saw great sort of month-on-month growth. That's when we realized that, okay, we need more funding. So that's when we reached out to Omar again, said, hey, we're ready for our seed round of funding to get this thing going. Let's see how it goes. And then we put together our whole sort of business plan and financial projections and stuff for the 1, 2, 3 years. And I looking back at that, it's crazy because I have zero numerical skills. I mean, I did maths A level, and then Omar also is math,
but not business.
And then I was literally we both sat with my sister for a full day to put it all together.
Okay.
Then we ran by it with some other members in the E25 group as well. It's like, hey guys, do you think this makes sense and stuff? And then we sort of handed it over to our investors, and they sort of questioned things here and there, and we basically got our first round of funding. And that's what
congratulations.
thank you. Yeah. And that was a year and about 14 months ago.
Yeah.
And then we used that money to develop the app. We launched the app in February last year, which
February
is
2019.
February 2019. Okay. So we're about to our 1 year anniversary with the app very soon.
Yep.
And again, that was a total nightmare. So if anyone listening who knows sort of app development and stuff, you'll just know that number one, just developing an app in general and having it do what you want it to do is so difficult, and then especially because you're not doing it, because you have a tech team who's developing it, and usually that tech team isn't even here.
Right.
They're usually sitting in India or in Ukraine or in Pakistan or Thailand or whatever.
Somewhere else.
Exactly.
Away.
So then trying to communicate that idea and then having to go through various iterations of the same thing again and again just to get it right and make sure it looks right and make sure it does what it's meant to do. So
the app development was a bit of an obstacle for you.
I mean, it still is.
A tough one.
I think in the beginning, so if we talk about obstacles, the first one was with this beta version, this MVP that we had no real analytics, and we had no control over, let's say one of the iPads broke in one of the spaces, or one of the staff at the space was using the charger to charge their phone versus our iPad. So that was an operational disaster.
And also scalability as well, because how many, we were literally becoming Apple's
how many iPads can you buy?
Exactly. So by the end of 2018, we had about 20 or so locations or something, and
40 iPads,
20 locations. Yeah, 20 locations. Then 20 locations, we had to get as many iPads, and we're like, okay, fine, iPads are getting too expensive, so maybe we should look at Android. Right. And then we got sort of
Android
these Galaxy tabs, because that was also second disaster, because I don't know what that was about. and then we realized that we need to do this in a much more sort of cost efficient scalable manner, because inshallah, what if we want to sort of scale abroad? We can't literally be buying iPads for every location abroad, right? So that's where the app came about.
Yeah.
Okay. And you're finding now it's working kind of as you want it to.
Yeah.
It's helping you to facilitate more business. And
of course. I mean, we were speaking about this, I think, the other day, just how different it was launching a space and training the staff and just kind of getting it up to speed. And then when we first launched the space, it would take about a week or two for that space to see pickup. Whereas now we just launch it on our app. We push a notification, and then by the next day, we'll see about 14 people going there.
Like that.
So that was one of the biggest gaps that we had, where we couldn't actually notify them except with email and SMS.
You mean notify your members, right?
Exactly,
That there was a new location being added. Okay.
So I think the biggest kind of learning from why we launched the app was how do we kind of minimize operations as much as possible.
Right.
Because I think if we were at how many are we? 43 locations.
Wow, 43 locations now.
Back to the tech we were using back then, it would have been a nightmare.
Yeah. It wouldn't have been efficient for you guys, for the venues themselves, or for the users, right? So now you found a solution for all three as well in terms of usability, the interface that's working more efficiently. Wow, so that's amazing. And what about you mentioned that you had to train some of the the staff members from the hotels or from the venues. What about like your team, your staff, or your own employees?
Yeah.
How's that going? What's it like managing a team? Or and especially because from what I understand, both of you pretty much came straight out and worked for yourselves, right?
I think
as entrepreneurs.
I think Omar had about 6 to 9 months of work, and then I had 2 years. So very limited experience in terms of being managed, but also managing other people, because we're at the bottom of the food chain, right? So we never managed other people. So that was an experience for sure. Like, it was so interesting because number one, I think a big struggle we faced was finding good talent, and we've been super lucky that everyone, whether it was current or past employees, like they've all just been really, really fantastic people. We've always hired sort of everyone we've hired has always been really young, and that's just, I guess, by default as well, because it just makes more sense for some reason.
You kind of get each other, you understand the way of working.
Yeah, and we're all quite young. So Daria's been with us for about 1.5 years now. Thomas has been with us for about 6 months now. Yeah. We've got Yash, who's an intern with us. We had Sarah, who was with us for 7 months, but she's just left to go to another company as well. But it's sort of like a related party, so we see her quite regularly as well. Yeah. And we're looking to hire another individual in the next sort of month. And obviously we've got the tech team that we sort of manage as well. So that's sitting in India.
Two completely different things, I think. Yeah. So our main team, it's fun. It's huge learning for me and Hamza. Just how do we manage, how do we motivate, and then the third is how do we plan where they're going to be in the next 6 months, because obviously they want to know what's next in my career.
Right, so for them.
I think just because it's such a small team, whatever vision Hamza and I see, so right now it's probably expansion, they're part of that vision too, because we definitely can't do it without them. Yeah. So I think just keeping them in line with what we want to do, and being such a small team just shows them, if you can actually prove that you can help us reach that level, then you'll soon be managing too, because who else is going to we're going to hire people
underneath you guys.
Yeah.
So it's a really interesting growth plan. But again, as a startup, you maybe one day you're doing a photo shoot or something in one of the spaces, and then the other day you have to deliver mugs to us. So it's very random. There's no real I'm doing this.
Yeah. So the job roles are quite broad, is what you're saying. Everyone's doing everything, just kind of hustling, trying to get whatever you need to get done. Yeah.
Exactly. Now I think as we grow, it's becoming much clearer as to what the sort of there's a clear separation in roles and responsibilities and stuff of what people are meant to be doing. But yeah, I think until about 6 months ago, it was just like everyone does everything, and it's interesting as well because I think we also didn't realize how important it is just to hire people. Number one, hire people, because it would get to a point where our growth wouldn't be meeting its. We were still growing, but it wasn't sort of meeting our investors sort of KPIs, our month-on-month KPIs or the annual sort of growth rates. And we were kind of wait, what's going on? And then what we realized was because me and Omar, instead of being strategy or business development, instead we're just being full on operations. We're literally sitting with the tech team every single day and drawing out amended versions of what the app screen should look like, or we'd be dealing with customer service and stuff like that. So no one was actually doing growth. Right. And then what we realized was that you'd see spikes. So every single time we'd hire someone new, it just become a lot more efficient because that someone new would be doing the customer service, the operational side of things, and we could sort of look at how we can actually grow this business, grow the products, grow the services, and hopefully scale it up sort of internationally or across the UAE as well.
Right. And so what you're saying is that you had to kind of adjust and try to maybe give some of the work away in terms of operationally, so you could focus on strategy, you could focus on business development, the kind of bigger picture, which is why ultimately you guys are the founders, right? You need to use your time in an effective manner.
Precisely. And it's also about building trust as well, right? Because there's certain things like social media for me, I remember vividly this actually as well, because when we first hired Daria, for example, I was all social media was all me. So our Instagram, our Facebook, I was handling it all. Our stories, I was doing them in a particular way, and then giving it over to someone else is kind of no, wait, can you not use that filter? Or no, wait, can you not just post that caption? Please, not. So it's also about sort of trusting the people that you hand over certain responsibilities to, and obviously that trust isn't going to come overnight. It takes time. It takes communication in the right way as well. You can't just be no, that's wrong. You have to be sort of productive. You have to give constructive feedback as well.
Right.
So just building that sort of that skill set for both Omar and I has been such a learning curve as well.
Interesting. giving away work, trusting others to do, and not necessarily to do it in the way you would do it, but their way is good also, right?
Exactly. You can't micromanage people because at the end of the day, then what have you hired them for? They're literally, because then all you're doing, you're not even spending your time, actually effectively either. You're just sort of micromanaging them.
Yeah. Wow, very interesting. And in terms of that, obviously you're co-founders, right? So have you spoken to any people who are individual entrepreneurs, solo entrepreneurs, any differences, anything that's interesting about being co-founders and working together? Because obviously you mentioned at the beginning you were looking for a co-founder, right? So you could have potentially done it by yourself and just hired a team. Yeah. So what happened there? What was your thought process around that?
I think, so just to answer the first part, the what's the difference? I think, so we're lucky enough to see a lot of our members in our spaces when we go around. So we meet people from all different industries. I think the one biggest difference is kind of like you don't have anyone really motivating you. I think motivation is really hard, especially when you don't have someone on top of you. Yeah. So in a corporate job, you have your to-do list and you have to do it. Whereas now Hamza and I work together and I just kind of know like that side of the business, he's taking care of it and he's the one who's going to handle it. I don't even need to waste my energy thinking of it because I know he's going to do it. Yeah. And same thing from his side. I think that's number one, just that motivation, like, okay, wait, if I don't get it done, like, Allah Hamza down.
Right, so accountability is what you're saying to each other and to the team and to the business, okay.
And then I think a lot of people say it's lonely, right? Can you imagine you're struggling the first couple of months of just trying to get the business to where it needs to be?
I mean, it's still a struggle.
Yeah, it's still a struggle, but at least we laugh about it. We laugh about different things. Right. So just sharing that kind of, we do this together is kind of interesting. And then as well, the fun part of, this is my business partner. We were just in Pakistan for a wedding. And Hamza started introducing me to everyone as this is my business partner, Omar from Dubai. So I was like, what?
No, I think we've been really lucky. Like, alhamdulillah, like I would like to say that we're friends first. Yes. Which is really nice. I don't think everyone has that blessing as well to be able to call your business partner or your co-founder or friend first before anything.
And going to weddings together, traveling the world. Together. I mean, look at that.
Well, it's annoying because, like, we really can't actually travel together because someone needs to be here, like actually looking after things. Right. But then, we took that risk over Christmas. But no, it wasn't a risk. Like, it was fine. We had a great time. Yeah. We have a fantastic team in place as well that, and we were also sort of working remotely as well. So that wasn't an issue.
Of course.
But no, you're right about the loneliness. And sometimes, I don't know, like, a lot of the time, like, it's also just having complementary skills as well. Like, so I'm a psycho, like, I stress out very easily, I talk a lot. I also stress out very easily. I'm always, doing 10 things at once, while Omar is very, like, I don't even
You're the hype one.
Yeah, I'm the hype one.
The hype boy.
Yeah, I don't have lunch. So I'll probably just, like, sit on my laptop and just, have a sandwich, blah, blah. But, Omar has, like, a set way of life. He's super relaxed. He's super chilled. But in a good way. Like, it's, he takes out, half an hour or 45 minutes for a proper lunch. He sits down, savors. He's very mindful and savoring every bite and stuff. So it's very different. So when I'm stressing out, for example, he'll be the calm one, or when we know maybe we think we're not, if we're too calm, perhaps, then I'll be like, wait, guys, we need to do this. We need to let's speed this up, sort of thing. So it's a great sort of like a balance.
Everyone panics when I'm stressed.
I was going to say, what happens when you stress out?
Everyone's like, what the hell is
happening?
So it's this great sort of symbiotic sort of relationship as well. So that's quite nice as well. And then I think that's the key thing of finding people with complementary sort of personality traits and also complementary sort of skills.
Right.
So like with in terms of skill sets. So for example, I've had 2 years of legal training. I became a lawyer. I qualified and did a whole training contract and stuff. And with that, I've managed to develop a skill of great attention to detail.
Yep,
say,
of course.
So noting spelling mistakes, or wait, no, the spacing between the buttons is too big on the app, for example, or how can we look into how are we being screwed over if we're entering into a partnership agreement with someone else, for example, like how can we be like how could it go wrong? I'm very pessimistic, and I think that's also maybe Zainab, you might also be able to relate, because I think as lawyers you're essentially trained
always
to be
looking,
you're also trained to be risk averse.
Yep.
So like weirdly, I don't think like lawyers perhaps make the best entrepreneurs sometimes as well. At least lawyers would
risk averse,
because
maybe not.
Because you're always like, actually no, maybe we shouldn't be doing this because it's what if this happens, what if that happens? But then otherwise with Omar, he's going, no, let's do it.
Let's just go for it.
Yeah, let's just go for it. Let's do it. So it's that sort of like, but then his skills, for example, like he's done coding, he's an engineer. His communication skills as well, they're fantastic. So like when it comes to presenting and things as well, so it's a great way that we can sort of benefit from each other and also learn from each other as well.
Right. I can imagine you guys learn from each other all the time, right?
When he's away and he needs to, we need to send a new contract to someone, I'll amend the name of the company.
The name of the company. Killed it, you know.
I'm a lawyer now.
Yeah, lawyer.
And you're probably engineering.
Yeah.
When
I make discount codes, like, guys, I'm a coder. Like, or like, I literally make a poster. I'm like, I'm a graphic designer, guys.
I'll
add that.
Canva.
You could be anything you want to be.
Right, it's 2020, right?
2020.
Exactly.
But thank you guys. I think we're good for timing. Thank you so much for your time today. And we hope to speak with you again in the future. Do you have any advice for any aspiring entrepreneurs out there, or any people who are in Gen Z who are looking for ideas, or any kind of advice?
Yeah, I think the main one, we always say this, is really start small and just prove the concept. A lot of people do say this, but like the other day someone showed me one of their like budgets for a business they want to start. I'm like, why are you putting this much with get your first customer?
Right.
When we first started, as we said, we found like 20 people in the Rove downtown. We said, can you pay the hotel membership fee and you get your coffee for free? Once we got the first 20, even after that, we brought it down to like what the MVP cost almost nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you say keep it small. Keep it small.
Yeah. Fail cheap, fail quick.
Yeah.
Like, you know, general sort of general sort of tips you hear from Gary Vee.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Fail cheap, fail quick.
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Also, just try it. Like, you know, what's the worst that could happen?
Yep.
Like that's something like, you know, we question ourselves all the time. Like before we make like a massive decision, like, oh, should we enter this sort of market or should we do this? Like, what's the worst that could happen? You know. So just think that. And I think one thing that sort of especially people from our generation, for example, you know, millennials or Gen Zs and stuff, like there's always that sort of I don't know, this weird feeling that, oh, like the other, like it's always green, the grass always seems greener on the other side.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know, like being an entrepreneur must be so much fun because you're your own boss and stuff like that. But if anything, like it's actually much worse.
It's hard. It's not easy.
It's a
right?
lot. It's a lot more difficult. You know, you have to be very. So at least we have each other to be accountable to. But you know, you yourself have to be very vigilant.
Yeah.
You yourself also have to have like this great resilience as well, like emotional resilience.
Yeah.
You have to be sort of able to sort of, you know, deal with the things like on your own as well a lot of the time, because you just don't have anyone else to sort of talk to, because not many people sort of get it, and you're not part of this, you know, greater ship, because you know you're not a part of this greater ship or like a corporation or anything, which you know,
where you can just ask someone.
Or if you're sick, you know, like, you know, someone else will just, you know, it's fine. The life goes on. So it is a lot more stressful as well. But I mean, it's also like so much. But it is a lot of fun as well at the same time.
Yeah.
So I think the crazy thing is that I think just, you know, think twice before you sort of make any big decisions and stuff. But at the same time, make a decision. Yeah. I think a lot of people our age, like they're always live in that sort of that limbo, like, oh, should I do it or should I not?
Maybe not. Yeah.
Just try. I think pick your motivation too.
Oh, that's a good one.
Pick what, like, why are you doing this?
What's your driver?
Exactly.
Okay.
Is it money? Is it to be independent? Is it to change something?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of makes it. I mean, I believe Hamza and I have kind of the same thing. Like, we want to grow this to as big as possible and actually make like something that people know of. And already we feel it. Like we when people say like, oh yeah, I know Letswork. Yeah. That's like the greatest. That's the most humbling thing ever.
I can imagine. Yeah.
I was on holiday and someone from Dubai was like, yeah, I know Letswork. I've used it. I thought it was a European company that came to Dubai. I was like, that's thank you.
Humbling, hey?
Yeah. It's massive.
And last question, what would you be doing if you weren't doing Letwork? Just out of curiosity.
Working Diwa.
Yeah, I'd probably just be a lawyer, to be honest.
He'd be having lunch right now.
Right.
It's
like 10 o'clock. Probably... I don't know. Yeah, probably a corporate job for a couple of years.
Okay.
But no, like we both wanted to start something. That was
for sure.
That was what led us to E25.
Yeah, I think sometimes like even if you weren't doing this, you probably would end up doing something like this, because sometimes it's just, I'm a big believer in like destiny and stuff, and if sort of like if it's written for you, then you probably will be into it some way or the other as well. So yeah. So
ending on destiny.
Yeah, I love that.
Business talk coming back round to the destiny.
Exactly.
So that's beautiful. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And see you soon.
Appreciate it. Cheers.